The new Super Draft is here, and we have 12 cards to pick from. So this is your guide. Here are all 12 of the Super Clash cards explained. Number 1, Super Archers. These archers shoot normal damage arrows at Evo Archer range. What makes them broken is the fact that each arrow pushes your opponent back, and even Fireball doesn't take out the duo. All of this for 3 elixir. Number 2, Ice Golem. This giant walking wall has half the health of a real golem at just 4 elixir. But what makes him super is the map-wide freeze on death. Beware, this will also activate King Tower. Number 3 is Super Knight. The Knight shields everything in his range. This includes buildings and towers in range. Spells and normal attacks do nothing to take this protective range down. His shield will only go down if he's attacking instead of defending. This card is super spammable at 4 elixir, so getting 2 down is GG's. Number 4 is Party Hut. Don't let the hut part confuse you. This building doesn't spawn troops until it's broken, releasing a Goblin Gain and a Brawler. It's well worth the 5 elixir. But while still up, the Dark Goblin on top acts as an expo, locking onto everything, including air troops. Number 5 is Super Mini P.E.K.K.A. At 5 elixir, this little guy does huge damage, one-shotting anything with a health bar. His every kill also drops healing pancakes, and his very walk does the same. Overall, just a broken card. Number 6 is Wizard Trio, spawning the 3 different wizards at 7 elixir. This card saves you 5 elixir total, but don't be fooled, this card is as useless as a triple musketeer, especially when every other card in the draft is broken. Number 7, Super Magic Archer. Being one of the most broken picks in the draft, especially at 5 elixir, this card will make enemy units change teams for 3 seconds. But even more broken than yoinking the enemy super card is hitting buildings. 1 arrow to an Inferno Tower makes it cook the enemy tower. Even worse, hitting Princess Towers leads to insane interactions. The only thing immune to this arrow is the King Tower. Number 8 is Barbarian Mortar. This 5 elixir mortar shoots out barbarians instead of stones. Make sure you realize this before placing this down, because on impact, this card deals only 2 damage. Don't be fooled, this is just a normal card. There is nothing super about this. Number 9 is Super Lava Hound. This 8 elixir behemoth is the equivalent of a bad from BTD6. Once popped, it drops out 2 Lava Hounds with higher attack speed and lower health. Then, each of them pops out 4 Lava Pups. But even with Balloon, this card pales in comparison to the rest. Number 10 is Super Witch. This triple witch hybrid spawns skeletons and bats while turning the enemy into pigs. At 6 elixir, this is a very decent choice, but only if you have a tank and the enemy doesn't have big spells. Number 11 is Christmas Hog. This is a normal hog that drops presents. Each present is a loot box, dropping clone, rage, invisibility, and healing. But another unit has to pick up the presents behind them. Overall, kinda mid. Number 12 is Party Rocket. This rocket does no damage to towers, but for 5 elixir, it will do normal damage to dead troops and turn them into goblins. It's interesting and a great counter. With only 6 of the 12 cards showing up, the choice is critical. So here are the practical rankings. First off, Ice Golem is just an above average tank. Unless you get into overtime, this card doesn't have a chance of building up a push. And with the enemy cards doing crazy damage, Ice Golem is barely a super. Party Hut, at its worst, is an upgraded Goblin Cage. Dealing incredible damage on defense and setting up a counter push is huge. But if you can get a lock on the enemy tower, this card is insanely overpowered. At 5 elixir, this is a real super card. The Super Knight is next and instantly amazing. At 4 elixir, it makes every push an instant nightmare. Placing him on defense makes your towers untouchable, and he shrugs off every spell. Barbarian Mortar does 2 damage on impact and costs 1 more elixir than Mortar. This super card manages to be the only card that's worse than a normal card. Barbarian Mortar is unplayable. Super Mini P.E.K.K.A. is essentially an Evo P.E.K.K.A. on steroids. This troop's only weakness is Swarmy, and with the draft being 2 spells minimum, your pushes become unstoppable. This is between God tier and amazing, but with the competition, she's just amazing. Speaking of which, Super Archers. The only card that has the same cost as the unsuper version is God tier. Even charging enemies have trouble approaching one of these menaces, and with double the health, this card only dies to rockets. And having recoil like Firecracker, these cards stay on the map forever. Super Lava Hound is a great card for 8 elixir, basically being the upgraded version of Lava Hound. This card is great value, but it's easily countered and does minimal damage. This card is barely a super. Christmas Hog is the most finicky card on this list. Its presents are random, and you must put troops behind it. The Hog itself is great at getting sneaky damage, but it's not a tank, so the presents are null in most cases. It's barely a super. The Super Wish suffers the same fate. Being a support card, the Super Wish doesn't shine above the normal cards the same way a Super Mini P.E.K.K.A. does. Struggling to add value to the game without a tank, which is a conditional super card, but nevertheless, still super. The Wizard Trio is unplayable. It's not even fun to play. Straight up terrible. The Super Magic Archer is the best card for this challenge. Not dying to anything less than a rocket, all while being 5 elixir. This ranged unit is already a great support, but when he turns the enemy push into your push, it's hard to make a case for any other card. Whoever picks this card wins the game. It's straight up god tier. And last but not least, Party Rocket. At 5 elixir with a huge radius, this is the counter to almost every super and then some. But unlike most supers, this card is not a win condition. First, you must have a push to annihilate the defense, or you can just rocket defend everything. With that said, this is still an amazing super. And that's all 12 cards ranked. Tell me what you think is the best and worst cards in the draft in the comments. And make sure to subscribe. We are at 100 subs and YouTube will only monetize you at 1k subs. Any interaction helps. Thanks for watching.